A year or so to the highly anticipated general elections, and so already feels like it's 1 week away. From intense tours in the coastal region, you'd even forget that public gatherings are banned. However, 12 months to next year's general elections, is it time to open up the country for the ever-emotive campaigns? Well, is already a plan to postpone the elections. In fact, the smell is coming from the parliament chambers. And the man behind the move is with us tonight. We'd also like to hear your feedback. Should we open up the country for 2022 general elections? Should we open up the country for 2022 general elections? Talk to us. All right, on the show tonight, Deputy President William Ruto is demanding an apology from the ODM party. We have MPs from ODM who will tell us if they will give an apology to the DP. We'll also discuss what the future holds for UDA, Jubilee, ODM, One Kenya Alliance, and NASA as we gear up to next year's general elections. Are we going to see the formation of a Jubilee ODM alliance, or will NASA them again?
We would like the government to consider the plight of our brothers and sisters in the western region of the country and reevaluate the 7 p.m. curfew in the Lake Basin. That is the counties of Busia, Vihiga, Kisii, Nyamira, Kakamega, Bungoma, Kericho, Trans Nzoia, Kisumu, and Siaya. While the situation there was dire, at the time the curfew was imposed, we believe the measures implemented have worked so far and the infection rates have reduced enough to allow a resumption of operating hours.
Again tonight, should we open up the country for 2022 general elections campaign? Should we open up the country for 2022 general elections campaign? SMS us on 111 444 111 at Switch TV Kenya at Fred Muitiriri. That is on Twitter. And now, tonight, I have none other than we have this discussion, and we have Busia Governor, who is also serving his last term as the governor. That is Sospeter Ojaamong, the first governor of Busia County, elected under the ODM ticket, who will help us get the true picture of the COVID-19 effects on the Western Kenya and the economy thereabout. We also have Jeremiah Kioni, the chair of the Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee and member of Parliament of Ndaragwa constituency, and a Jubilee diehard. Of course, we have Martin Owino Ndhiwa, MP, elected under the second biggest party in Kenya, well, after the Jubilee Party, the ODM party. And finally, we have Nordin Kagai, a lawyer and a political analyst. We have opened our lines for your views, SMSs on 111 444 111. Gentlemen, let's get into it. Now, you've heard what bar owners have said, and I'll start with you, Martin. Do you think this is the time we are supposed to open up the country?
Opening up in this case is relative. Let's start on that note. What part of the country are we talking about?
Yes.
If it is in the counties under lockdown.
Yes.
Let me run this background first of all, so that we can have a good debate, because it happens that my background is public health.
Yes.
Preventive medicine. The virus we are dealing with,
yes,
which is called Delta variant, is very aggressive and very transmissible. The only way to know that we have a problem is to test. Our testing capability is very less. It's very, very dismal.
You've ranked among the poorest in the world.
Exactly. So we don't know what we are dealing with. That's the bottom line. We don't know. Because we are scratching the surface of a problem.
Yes.
Our positivity rate is still swinging. 8, 10, 12, and all that. With that meager samples that we do get. So we have a problem which is huge and we don't know. In my constituency,
Ndhiwa,
we are, and the whole Homa Bay County, we are now considering case definition, because there's no testing capability. There are people dying because of breathing problems. Some are classifying, oh, this is pneumonia, this is malaria, and it's COVID.
It's COVID.
It's COVID. So if you have all that now, you want now address, let us open up for business so that we can get income, retain people on employment. Those are hypotheses in pandemic, because you can open up and you run down the lives of people. In our world, this is the medical, health becomes first before you think of business, because you can have business and people are sick and dying and they will not work there. So in short, your question is premature to open up right now if you really care even about the employees, especially if you're a bar owner and you're listening to me. The area where transmission takes place most is in the bar.
Because at night, because people are drunk and they cannot.
And you have loosened all the protective mechanism, the mask is on the table, everything. Yes. To me, what should open up are the churches, because now we are dealing with mental issues, because there's no spiritual interventions, there's no interactions. Those rural folks we are talking about, they don't have the virtual capabilities to reach their congregations. I mean, those interventions are dead. And that's why you see them coming up in some symptoms, fighting, killing each other, and all that.
Hold that thought, because we have Jeremiah Kioni, the MP from Ndaragwa. And Jeremiah, you were in Kiambaa constituency the other day, and you saw the throng of people who came out to just, tuseme tu kushangilia Jubilee na UDA. Do you think it's time we open up the country? We have 1 year to the general elections. Do you think this is a time to open up the country?
One is, let me say thank you for having me on and having invited me. And again, thank you for introduction. I think in your introduction you said that I am a Jubilee diehard. I am a member of Jubilee. Dying hard may be another category, but I'm a member of Jubilee. The other thing is on the issue of the COVID. I think it's important, first of all, to appreciate what has been done by the executive this far. Without doubt, we have managed to handle the COVID epidemic in this country better than many other countries in the world. And it's good to appreciate what the president and his officers, the CS and the PS, the Ministry of Health have done. But having said that, I think it's also important to follow science. This is a statement that has been issued from many jurisdictions. It's important to follow science because without following science, this is a disease that can cause havoc to a population. We've seen that happen in Brazil. We saw it happening in the US and other places where there was some bit of laxity. Where we come from or where the area I represent in Parliament, Ndaragwa constituency, it's good to know that over the weekend I was there, and there are now cases that we are noticing of that strain called the Delta Plus. And we have a number of barriers that are taking place over this weekend, and they are all related to the COVID-19 epidemic. So I would be very hesitant to start campaigning or urging the government to open up the country. I would rather be guided by science and what my colleague has said. But having said that, I think it's also important to appreciate the economic hardships that COVID has occasioned on businesses and even ordinary people. And we need to have all these issues on the table. And I want to say that 2022 elections should never be one of the reasons why we open this country altogether. It should be because the spread has reduced. We are able to tell that we are now on a downward, but not because we want to do campaigns. We cannot have the health of people or the life of our own people on one end of the stake, and the other end of the stake are campaigns. Campaigns are not, you cannot equate them to the life of Kenyans. And I want to say, you mentioned Kiambaa.
Cut you short for a minute.
I am sure that why Kiambaa.
Let me cut you short for a minute.
Why Kiambaa we were able to do the things we were doing,
yes,
is because the levels had reduced substantially. And you notice that even after our campaigns, we didn't see a spike. But I still think that is something that needs to be done very, very cautiously. This is something that we must be very careful about. In any case, whenever we had the town hall meetings, there was a major attempt to have those social distancing, but it is a very difficult thing to do in a campaign. Particularly, to observe the protocols is not easy at all.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Nurdin. You've heard what our politicians are saying, but today, and I'll be coming to you, Martin. Today, top leadership of the big parties who will be in the election 2022, they are campaigning in the coastal region, including ODM party leader, including UDA presidential candidate, who is right now in Kirinyaga. Yesterday was in Machakos. Last week he was in Coast. These are the same people who are telling us, we take time. What are you hearing from them?
And don't forget the president was in Kilifi today with us.
Yes.
You know, I start by saying, yes, health is wealth. That is very true, because there is no importance of having an economy when there is no one to enjoy the economy. But sadly, you get where those who are saying open the economy are coming from. Because they're saying, you're telling us to close everything and let us wait for COVID to go down or end. But at the same time, you're out here campaigning. You know, when you have these tours, people come, they converge at a certain point because you can't address yourself. They go there to address people. You realize? And that is a sad reality, because our politics has taken preference even before the economy or health. Because at the end of the day, people are drumming support for aspirations that they have come 2022. Now, what we should be talking about is vaccination. You see, people say don't compare. I have a friend of mine who stays in the States, in the USA. He told me back there, they buy the vaccine in supermarkets. Like I can walk into Naivas, into Tuskys or whatever, and I go to the hospital, get vaccinated. And then they have a door-to-door policy where they check who has been vaccinated and who hasn't. And that is why they're talking about opening up the economy. They're talking about stop wearing the masks. Now, from where we are right now, we are still begging and waiting for donations for vaccines. That is a problem again. You realize? So if we would have focused on vaccination the first time, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Listen, you see, if you're a government, for example, you plan, right, on how you can acquire vaccines, right? But now when
because there are countries which are not manufacturing, but they have the vaccine.
Exactly. So you see, the problem is in Kenya, the politics takes preference. It is before everything else, and that's a sad reality. That is why it's so easy to have political tours, other than talking about how we'll bring in more vaccines to vaccinate the people. Because the moment you vaccinate people, it doesn't mean they're cured, no, but it means you can try and open up the economy so people can fend for themselves.
Let's hear it from Martin. Martin, your party leader, Raila Odinga, right now, he's in Coast, and you have seen the throngs of people who've come to, I mean, Raila Odinga is a big fish in this country, and so people are going to come. Everyone is going to where he is. But you are telling us here today, Martin, that let's not open up the economy. But bar owners are saying, if we do not open up, 11,000 bars are going to be closed down in 2 months. Are you speaking from the same side? Are you speaking from the side of Wanjiku?
Oh yes, oh yes. Remember, Raila is a survivor of this virus. And practically, he knows what...
But those who are going to the meetings are not survivors.
He knows what he does.
Yes.
And wherever he has gone, if you were very keen, you didn't see the crowds. He has just gone to console people who have been hurt by, father died. He is reaching very small group comparatively to the UDA leader. So that means he's careful. And in all his meetings...
There are people. There are people even today.
If the people come, sometimes you put a dragnet, you have to go, don't come, people still come. But
why are they going there? Let's start from there, Martin. Why should we have those political campaigns? Because in essence, it's political.
Now, if you're my friend the way you are now,
yes.
friend, if
yes.
you're my friend,
yes.
and something happened to you,
yes.
Even if there's another say that goes that friend in need is a friend indeed. Going to see a friend, that is what he does. Now, other things you see. No, I'm telling you the truth. It's not campaigning. It's campaigning how, and he has not even declared he's going to be a candidate. He's not campaigning. He was visiting institution you saw, but morally getting in touch with the people he loved. And those meetings are very restricted. If you happen to see any crowd, it's just, you know, how people get curious and carried away.
Let's bring in Jeremiah. Let's bring in Jeremiah. Jeremiah, the issue, you have said clearly that we shouldn't open up the country for 2022 political and elections and a campaign thereof. Don't you feel that Kenyans even themselves, by the act of coming out, especially I saw that in Kiambaa, by the act of coming out to meet their leaders, that Kenyans are ready for the campaigns?
Kenyans are ready for campaigns anytime, irrespective of the situations that we are in. We are a very political country. We have communities that really like politics, and you can tell by the fact that anywhere you go where there is a social gathering, the topic of the day, any hour, any minute is politics. So we will be ready for politics anytime. We'll be ready for campaigns any time of the day. But again, this is not an easy topic to engage in. Remember, my colleagues, is that we have also very many families that are suffering, that have lost their dear ones. They have lost their breadwinners, they have lost their mothers, their wives, you know. And it's not a very, and there are people we know, so it's not a very easy debate to have. Because even as we are having it, there are those who are already wondering, why is it that we may be seen to be looking at it culture? So we need to be, to sympathize with them, empathize with them, and always remember them whenever we are engaging in this discussion. But remember also that the country is at a curfew in some areas, and there are some areas that are at a lockdown. In places like Kiambaa, which you have used as an example, and even where the former Prime Minister is in Mombasa, we have a curfew that runs from, I think, 10 to 4 a.m. in the morning, meaning that during other hours, you can engage in all the economic activities that you can, for as long as, again, you observe the protocols. But where we have lockdown is because the prevalence of the pandemic is high, and again we have this Delta Plus. If it is, if they are able to think that it is anywhere in the country, we need to be careful about it. You can also see in the US, they are trying to go back to the issues of lockdown and curfew because they have been hit by the Delta Plus. So I think it's not an easy topic. It's not an easy, and I agree, we need to focus more on vaccination. But again, the countries that have produced the vaccines are not going to sell the vaccine to us before they deal with their community, with their populations. And there isn't any country,
hold that thought,
Africa, that you can say has done very well.
Hold that thought.
Okay. For the reason that they have been very careful to, first of all, deal with their populations in a very selfish way. And that is why I agree with South Africa when they say that they now want to move to the point of manufacturing the vaccine itself for their people and, of course, for the Africans within the African continent.
That thought, and Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho had this to say towards what we are talking about today.
Lakini mimi nafikiria ni wakati sasa tufungue uchumi wa kitaifa kikamilifu, watu waanze kupata kazi. So, Your Excellency, I'm humbly appealing, when we engage with the President, tuongee tuseme kwamba it is time, kwa sababu mabasi hapa yanafungwa, matatu zinasota. We will do some extensive work to ensure watu wanavaa barakoa.
Let me go straight to you, Martin. Yes. That is your deputy party leader, Ali Hassan Joho, who is saying, watu wanaumia. In as much as we empathize with those who are grieving right now, watu wameumia, watu wamepoteza kazi, watu hawana karo ya kurudi shule. Are we telling them, and this is your deputy party leader, don't you share the same sentiments?
No, it's true. It's true. People are suffering. And take it from me, when you see people suffer, well, bunge, they are suffering even more. Mheshimiwa, leo sina chakula kwa meza. I have a child in the hospital. MPs are at it. But let's look at it this way. I believe what my deputy party said is okay. we need just to define further. If we have to open the economy, how? That one needs to be defined. It's relative. You just don't say go back to where you were. I don't think that is what it means. But take a Kenyan also who wants economy to be open. I distribute masks in my constituency. I visit the people who have been bereaved. You find somebody has a mask, it is under his chin, or it is in the pocket. Where is your mask?
Kenyans actually don't wear.
They don't. So as much as we want the government to open up, we also have the responsibility, because it's catch-22 here. If the president carelessly opens up, and you saw it in Brazil, and people start dying, you will take up. You have to take a blame. So what I think my deputy party leader is meaning here is a two-pronged message.
He's saying open up.
Kenyans,
Yes.
they say we will follow the protocols. That is that's a message to the people who are violating the protocols.
Hold still. Nurdin, before we go on a break.
Yeah.
People are suffering. That's for a fact.
Yeah.
We have leaders who are telling us, like Martin, who is in in the medical field, that it's not time to open up. But for how long? For how long can we go on with what we're having?
And you see, that's the problem, because when there's uncertainty, those who are hungry continue being hungry. You know, he's just saying that members of parliament are also suffering. And that's the problem. You see, that is what irks me, because at the end of the day, that shows our systems don't work. That shows that people go for elections and whatever was meant to be done was never done. It's more or less, you know, in Africa, it's more or less this: impoverish them so that you use them. Because for me to have to come to my member of parliament or governor or senator so that I can have a meal on my table is actually sad. If leaders actually did what took them to office, then everyone would be able to provide for themselves. But sadly, it's not by mistake. It is actually by choice to make sure you impoverish them so that I use them. So that when it comes to the election period, I come with 500 shillings, or you feel like I've done you a favor.
I'm sure Martin has a lot to say about
and in
that.
reality, listen, and
Yes.
in reality, that shows, you know, COVID just highlighted the state of our economy. Because for years we've been told in the state
It's growing,
it's strong, it's bold, growing towards where? That's the funny reality. And as you look at COVID and HIV, just like HIV, COVID is going to remain an African problem, because at the end of the day, Mheshimiwa Kioni just said that there's a shortage of vaccines, and most countries are not willing to sell.
give, and they won't give.
That asks you and I, so what has my leader done? Because at the end of the day, why don't you plan ahead? Because you can't say that we have resources. Yes, they're not as much as you would compare with the first world countries, but what have you done at your end?
Yes.
So at the end of the day,
Yes.
there's a leadership crisis in Africa at large.
Okay. You've heard, we have a leadership crisis in Africa and in Kenya. Not sure about that, but we have members of parliament who will be answering that when we come back. We have Jeremiah Kioni, and he's introducing, he wants us not to go to elections next year, 2022, because there are some constituencies, like his constituency, that they do not know about their fate. We'll be talking about postponing the elections when we come back from this break. This is Tipping Point. My name is Frederick Mwitiriri. My sign language interpreters tonight is Tracy Dorcas. And of course, we have Teresia Washira. We'll be back in a short while. Don't go anywhere. All right, and welcome back. This is Switch TV Tipping Point. My name is Frederick Muitiriri. Now, Ndaragwa Member of Parliament, that is Jeremiah Kioni, is proposing that we postpone next year's general elections. And because we have him tonight, maybe he can explain to us what is happening. Do you, Jeremiah, Jeremiah, are you still with us? All right, I'm being told he's here. Jeremiah, please tell us why we need to postpone next year's general elections. Maybe for our viewers who are young people, please explain to us why we should postpone next year's general elections.
No. We should not postpone next year's general election. We should have the elections on schedule. But every other time we need to address ourselves as to why is it that we hold elections other than having renewing the term of members of parliament or renewing the leadership in the country. There is more than just that. There is also the issue of ensuring that if every Kenyan is represented at the resource sharing table, resource allocation table, you have a voice in the governance of this country. You have a voice in the making of laws in this country. So there is more than just holding elections or kicking members of parliament whom you are unhappy with. And one of the things that is before us now is that without a doubt, those of us who have followed the history of our constitutions just before 2010 and during the discussions that took place at Naivasha, you will remember that we included a formula in our constitution which clearly stipulates or specifies what number of people you must have in your constituency for you to actually be allowed to elect a member of parliament and, of course, members of the county assembly, as it were. And what came out after the 2009 census was that every constituency required a population of around 134,000 people. And for that reason, when we added the 80 constituencies and applied the formula, there were 27 constituencies that were to be scrapped back in the year 2010. But a political decision was made then, which was informed by the fact that if you go out and tell Kenyans that from tomorrow, you will not be able to elect a member of parliament, the number of MCAs in your area will have to be reduced in line with what the law stipulates, and you will not receive CDF, you're not going to get the roads levy fund that comes to your constituency for Kera, your name on the national map will disappear. The decision then was made that that is another way of telling people to start agitating, and you can actually end up in a violent situation. Taking away a person's right to do that in that manner is not a thing that you can take lightly. And for that reason, we decided that let us give these constituencies a 10-year break so that we see whether the population will have grown to get to the population quota. And if not, then we have to make another political decision. We are at that point where we need to make a political decision.
Jeremiah,
2019 census,
Jeremiah,
from 134 to 164.
But the timeline is until 2023. Why is it urgent right now? Because from 2013 to 2023, why is it urgent right now?
This is not a debate that you can just have, a few statements. Let me say this. This is a thing that after the 2023 elections, it is important for us as a country to know that there are constituencies that will not vote again, because there can never be a miracle that will happen that will increase the population from where we are, because many of those constituencies are in the 80s and 90s thousand of people. To get to 164, nothing will happen between now and then that will make it possible for them to ever vote again after 2023. We are members of parliament now within the institutions that can help those constituencies either survive one way or another, or do nothing and get them scrapped. After the 2022 elections, what will happen is that all those members of parliament will then be knocking from outside to come inside because they will have exhausted any kind of leverage that they have. But let me also say this. This is not an issue we are introducing now. Back in the year 2018, my committee held a meeting with IEBC on this singular issue. And IEBC told us that they are actually making all the preliminary arrangements to deal with this issue. They were only waiting for the figures from IEBC, from the census team. And we had a joint meeting with the census team, and they agreed immediately the census are done, they will embark on this issue. Now we can see IEBC has come and said we have a new quota of 164,000. And behind the scenes, of course, they are saying this is a very hot political potato.
Yes.
They don't want to deal with it now. They want to deal with it after the election.
Okay.
That time we'll have nothing else to do other than to go home.
All right.
It will be very naive of any member of parliament to sit and wait and see that his constituency is clapped for the map of Kenya.
All right.
And the history books will be written that during your term, you lost a political unit. That's a very naive thing for any member of parliament. And it does not matter
Okay, Jeremiah.
who you support come 2022, your presidential candidate.
Okay, Nurdin.
Yeah.
This is not the first time we've heard that we can push the elections. It's not the first time that we've heard that there's still time that we can have a referendum, even though we've been told by August 13th or thereabout that we cannot have you are a lawyer, we cannot have a referendum. Now, this is a new, an introduction to postponing the elections because they want it now, but we have a deadline until 2023. What are you hearing from Mheshimiwa Jeremiah?
I'll pick something he said.
Yes.
That is a political solution that has no basis in law. That is a political solution that has no basis in law. The election is meant to be held next year, and that is what needs to happen. This issue of trying to postpone the election is neither here nor there, because at the end of the day, they started with the issue of the BBI. They are waiting for the court's decision, and now there's something new. But today they say we have to postpone the election. But today he has said that they don't want to postpone the election. But they are raising issues that to show that it's not yet time to have an election. At the end of the day, the election is to be held next year.
Let me bring in Martin here.
Yeah.
Martin, some of your party members in ODM, and to mention Junet Mohammed, has said that we need to prepare for a referendum. For whichever way the court will say, we need to prepare for a referendum. He told IBC so 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We have seen the push of postponing next year's general elections. Is it an ODM stand that we should not have an election in next year?
No, our stand is the election calendar stands. And one thing which is very good in politics is keeping your people guessing what you are talking about. The last time Baba said, yeah, there's a plan B, and he didn't say what it is. That is good, because you struggle to get where we are going. And we love that in ODM. But keeping people guessing, what is it? But now, on this Jeremiah Kennedy thing, you know, one of the credentials of a leader is to see the future and not wait for it to overwhelm you. So it is driven by the fear of scrapping this in the middle of that term, which is okay. And in this country, we have processes of doing stuff. You can have your own expression, which we fought for, freedom of expression and visual. And then we go until we have the courts to interpret. I think that is where it's heading to. So cutting him short that this is going to postpone the election, I think is a little bit unfair. But also let me come to Nordin, because he said something here.
But my question was, and
yes.
that is a question I'm putting to Jeremiah. Why are we talking about it right now? I know he's saying that he has, previously they've spoken to IBC. We did not hear it last year. We did not hear it in 2019. Why now? And we have been seeing agitation to postpone next year's general elections. It's not the first time politicians are saying so.
It's just coming on the table right now because it's bringing it. But I have friends who are paying mamas.
Yes.
2,000 to get, pregnant and bring babies quickly. Yes. How they will match this requirement, I don't know. So this is 2 years ago, and this is true.
Yes.
So people have been trying interventions.
Yes.
Which I don't think you will not have 164,000 people, because that is the calculation of the population of the 290 constituencies. Then you get what a constituency should have in order to survive. They may not get there. But these 27 constituencies, Fred, even if you look at it, I mean, when you hit 23 and you tell them you are no more representing anybody, go home, that is chaotic. We don't want to get there. I think that's why Jeremiah is coming with this. Now, let's look at this thing. What will happen to this protection? It will be over, and you will throw people into crisis. Those who are, and now it will touch the constitution, because each and every Kenyan have a right to be represented in parliament.
Okay, fair enough. This is what Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, because now you want to shift gears, had to say yesterday on the position of the presidential candidate in 2022 general elections.
Mimi Hassan Ali Joho siwezi kuwa mfuasi, nataka kuwa mshirika katika serikali inayokuja, my friend. Kama mimi sio rais, ni kuwe partner. Ama mimi niwe rais, wengine wawe partners. Iko shida hapo. Nimemwambia baba, yeye anataka, mimi nataka, Oparanya anataka, tutaangalia vile tutapambana. We are family. Our intention is to what? Kupeleka Kenya mbele.
I know Jeremiah is readying himself to talk about that. And Jeremiah, I know Jubilee, there are talks between Jubilee and ODM to have a merger and to have a candidate in next year's general elections. Are you going to have Ali Hassan Joho as your candidate in next year's general elections?
Joho has said many things in one sentence. One, he has said that he is either going to be the president, or he is going to be part of the government, or he is going, or he must sit at the table. And those are the reasons why we want to ensure that we don't lose the 27 constituencies, because losing them means that we are completely removed from the table. Our people have no voice anywhere near decision making or resource allocation, resource sharing. And to us, that is more important than any discussion that is happening between Jubilee and ODM. I'm not aware of any. I've only read it in the media. It is more important than who will be our presidential candidate come 2022. We have not started to think through that. UNDA have their own presidential candidate in the name of William Ruto. William Ruto went and his brigade went ahead and chose presidential candidates for other parties. They have been running against those presidential candidates for the last 4 years. Some of those individuals have never even declared they are running. So I think it will be getting into a hypothetical debate that is not quite useful. We'll be feeding into the narrative of UDA. And you notice that the people in these other parties are individuals who've been in politics for a while. So they can actually see, like the eloquent member of Thiwa has said, you can see through many things, and you can also wait because there is a lot of time. But even before I go to that issue, these are, let me say that in the last 20 years, since 2002, any party that was formed within, outside 1 year of elections, any party that was formed more than 12 months before the date of elections never formed a government. It is arrangements that are entered into within 9 months of elections that eventually see the light of day and are able to form a government of the day. And I can tell you that that is where we are, and we are not in a hurry. There are those who will say that Jubilee and ODM is merging again because perhaps they think when that happens, it becomes easier for them to win. They will say that Mount Kenya has fronted Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga himself has not even said he is running, again, because they think that they can scare the mountain away. So these are things that have been said more by the UDA and less by those of us who will be playing some part in the coming days. But let me conclude that by saying this. The issue of 27 constituencies, yes, is a political issue that requires political solution. It does not have to have a basis in law.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
This is something that we need to get comfortable with, because if we don't have a solution to that political issue, then you will not even have a place to apply the law.
Martin, the conversation has shifted, and Ali Hassan Joho, he wants the top seat.
Right.
Is Baba going to run in next year's elections?
Good question. Good question. But let's celebrate one thing there. During one-party era, before the Section 2 was repealed,
Yes.
and Moi was sitting there,
Yes.
would Joe have talked like that?
Absolutely no.
Never. So we have gained a lot. That Baba is sitting down and Joe said, I need it, I need it. That is ODM. That is what Baba fought for. That we can all come together and talk. If you beat me, I'll give in. And he has done it, all primaries.
But he's being,
So-
ODM is being told it has betrayed NASA, though.
How? Who is NASA? That's the question.
Oh, goodness.
Who is NASA? Baba is NASA, plus 3 principles. The people who are saying that they have been betrayed cannot even define a formula they should use to get that money. They were called to go to the registrar of parties and be explained. They are dragging their feet. So this NASA thing, they better think twice, because it is not a T-shirt on somebody with a logo. They are leaders. These people are leaders, and he will lead them. So to Joe, I think that's healthy. That is
Yes.
what we want in ODM.
Do you think he will make it? though?
Eventually, no, the shoe is too big. You don't want to punish a child by giving a big shoe to carry.
Oh, yeah. But he's the deputy party leader.
Yeah, so he's still learning.
Nurdin, do you think Joho will ever find the light of day in ODM to be the presidential aspirant
Oh,
in
yeah.
2022 general elections?
2022, no. You see, if you understand what he said, this is his second term as governor. So he's looking to the future. So more or less a soft landing where he can land post being governor. Because after there, where do you go? It's either deputy president or president, which is a pipe dream according to what is being alluded to. But I'd like to state something. You see, Kioni just said something, that parties that are formed, let's say months to an election, form the government. And that is a problem in
We've
Kenya.
been having in Kenya.
And you know why? Because people form these alliances and parties to capture power. Once they capture the power, then
They forget about people.
Exactly. And then when they realize that, oh, time is running out and we promised ABCD, we never achieved, they rebrand. And that is why you see a party that wins election post-Kanu has always changed. It has rebranded to something else. We had NAC, we got PNU, and now we got TNA, it got Jubilee. Now Jubilee is Jubilee A, Jubilee B is URP.
And ODM in between?
Now you see, and now we are being told
ODM is not there.
we are being
You're not having a merger?
No.
You
No.
cannot have a merger in Jubilee?
Actually, nobody talk about merger. What we have with Jubilee is an alliance, working together. Merger is something different. We have been supporting their bills in Parliament. We have been talking. And the other day, they were conversing in a hotel, and then people talk about merger. There's no merger. We are just alliancing in business of the house. Eventually, that may evolve to something else. But we want to keep you guessing.
It's the same thing as NASA.
I
It's the
told-
same thing as NASA. Now, hold still. Now, this is what Deputy President had to say yesterday. He just listen to this bite.
Mimi nataka niwaambie wale ndugu zetu ambao waliingia katika mpango yetu ya serikali 2018, wakakuja wakasambaratisha mpango wa housing ambayo ingepatia vijana kazi, wakasambaratisha mambo ya kilimo ambayo ingeongeza mapato kwa kilimo na tupate export ya mambo ya kilimo ambayo ingesaidia wananchi katika universal health coverage. Nataka niwaulize, kabla hawajaongea na sisi, waombe msamaha kwanza, kwa sababu ile walituambia ni priority ya kubadilisha katiba ndio ipatikane mamlaka na ipatikane vyeo, ndio imeleta sisi mahali hapa tulipo sasa, kwamba madeni inarundika, vijana wanahangaika, kina mama wanahangaika, uchumi imeenda chini kwa sababu ya utapeli wao.
Watu wa ODM waliingia Jubilee, wakaharibu Jubilee na Ruto wako nje. Hivyo ndivyo wanasema. Nyinyi ndio mmefanya maendeleo isiendelee Kenya.
If you want to know that somebody has nothing to offer, hear what he says.
Yes.
And I asked in one of the platforms,
Yes.
tell me one thing that DP has fought for passionately and delivered to Kenyans. Since Y2 YK92.
2007 elections
He's
with
talking,
Baba.
he's talking agriculture. He was the Minister of Agriculture. He was sacked. What did he do? So this guy, what he's preying on is the emotions and words. But theoretical, that's what we call it rhetoric politics. When you tell him, okay, now you fly in a chopper, you leave a wheelbarrow, and fly out with a chopper, and you expect the base to be energized bottom up. What are you doing? Where have you even done a protocol? I mean, an example so that you can scale up to be a president. Nil by mouth. So what Ruto is doing is politics. In fact, President was so right when he said in Bomas, sasa mimi nataka kupatia we kijiti. You are coming back to take it by force. And that is Ruto. Why did he leave ODM? Because of his combative and ambitious. But let me tell him one thing. Elisha succeeded Elijah because he was patient. Joshua succeeded Moses because he waited. The person who learns how to follow always becomes a better leader.
Let me bring in, because I know we don't have a lot of time. Jeremiah, Jubilee had a defeat in Kiambaa. You are part of the people who are campaigning for the Jubilee candidate. And Ruto is saying, the deputy president, he is saying that ODM came in, ikafanya Jubilee iishe, na ndio imeanza kushindwa. Is that the case?
Again, very difficult to speak after that eloquent statement from the member of parliament for Thiwa, because he has been able to capture it very, very well with that those Bible verses that he has. He didn't give us the verses, but the Bible stories. But let me say 3-4 things. One is, as a leader, and something happens to your political house, and you take off, you actually exhibit cowardice. We do not want cowardice. When ODM came and formed an alliance, really, it was really an alliance through the handshake. I think it was cowardly for the deputy president to take off, because what he is saying is he actually took off. Secondly, this is a narrative that he has given us for 4 years, the same stories, and playing like the MP for Thiwa has said, or the emotions of people. You were elected and given a platform to help us out of problems. That platform is still with you. You did not resign. And you have chosen to just play with our emotions instead of giving us solutions, not for the future, but for now. I think that is also something that is not useful at all. He says, where is the housing agenda?
And say that he was removed out of what he was doing. A deputy president would argue and say that the CS for Interior, that is Fred Matiang'i, took over what he was doing. So he had nothing else to do in government.
You don't want me to say what I think about that, but I will, because you have brought it up. Under Matiang'i, as the man heading the delivery unit, that was the second term of Jubilee. We have had fewer scandals than it was before he took over. That is something that you'd want to ask the president, what he did to crack the scandals. Remember, every week of the first term of TNA Jubilee, we had a scandal. When the delivery system was changed in this country, put under the presidential delivery unit, and Matiang'i was given the role of coordination, we have seen fewer scandals during this term. And I do not want to say more, because that you can do. But you mentioned something about Kiambaa. And I want to tell you this, my good friend. What happened in Kiambaa is a very good thing for us in Jubilee. We went in Kiambaa and campaigned for 3 weeks. By the time we were starting, the crowd was very hostile towards us. We actually had to beg for them to listen to us. We told them the truth about those emotive statements that have been issued by the UDA brigade for 4 years. By the end of 3 weeks, we had taken away 50% of their following.
Okay.
In 3 weeks.
Okay.
Imagine what we are going to do to them in 1 year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. I have to cut you short because I'm being told I don't have a lot of time. And I have to bring in Nordin before we leave the studio. Nordin.
Yeah.
we have sat on this table with enough members of parliament from UDA, and they are saying that Jubilee is dead. Is it dead?
So far, if death is equated to the number of elections they've lost, then it's dead.
Are you going to have a merger or an alliance like you're saying with a dead party?
No, Jubilee is not dead. You just have rebellious kids within the house. He should be kicked out.
I have 30 seconds. My director is telling me 30 seconds.
There's something I said earlier
Yes.
about empowering them to use them.
Yes.
And maybe I wasn't clear. I'll use a quote by Nelson Mandela
Yes.
to actually illustrate what I meant.
Yes.
He said, like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made and can be eradicated by human beings. So in short, what I'm saying is those who are at the helm of securing a better future,
Yes.
because now we're talking about a prosperity, a better future for Kenyans, do your work. Because if you don't do, when you meet, like he said, they met hostile people. Where are they hostile? A hungry man is an angry man.
30 seconds, Mheshimiwa.
Individuals cannot cushion a community. It's a system, just like the US does, giving checks, food stamps, house subsidy in a crisis. That is what we need.
Yes.
We cannot do it ourselves. There must be a system from the government to take care of our own people in crisis like this.
Thank you so very much. That is Martin Owino. They were a member of parliament. We had Daragwa, member of parliament. That is Jeremiah Kioni. And of course, Nurdin Kagai, who is a lawyer and a political analyst. My name is Frederick Muitiriri. And our sign language interpreters tonight, Tracy Dorcas and Teresia Washira. And that's all we had for you tonight. Would wish to continue with this discussion, but we can continue with the discussion online. The views described on this show are strictly individual views and do not portray the views of Switch TV Kenya. Many thanks for watching this show. Until next Thursday, do have yourself a good night. Asanteni sana.